All right, it's time to change out my Bauer grease cartridge for the first time in this guy. And here's what these grease canisters look like, of course. Um, I always tend to install them this way with this metal ring on this side. I unscrew this cap, uh, but they can be installed the other way. If you pull this whole canister out, you can install the metal on that end. And there's some advantages to that. The disadvantage is now there's going to be some grease on this end exposed, and now you got to run it up through your grease gun, and you make the potential of making a mess in here. And there's nothing I hate worse than getting my grease gun out and there being grease everywhere. So that's why I tend to do them the other way. But I think the technically correct way is the metal ring on this side, but you can do them both ways. So first step, obviously, is pull this back out. There's often a lot of force, and it's just because of stiction or whatever with the grease that's on that this is exposed to. In fact, when you pull this out, let's just do it again. Of course, this is like that. You pull this out, and there's still, even though I pulled it out once, there's a lot of stiction. And then there's a little notch in that tab all the way at the end. I've come to the notch. You can move it over to the side. And then I clean this because, like I said, I hate this grease being everywhere on my grease gun. Like I said, I normally just remove this cap and then I put the metal on this end. But this time we're going to do it the other way. Now here we have the canister out. Of course, I'm going to have to pull this little cap off because I installed it the other way the other time. And that canister's not going to slide out of there because this metal ring will keep it from sliding all the way throughout that direction. So if you generally you want to install them the same way every time to save yourself from pulling both caps off, but I'm going to do it this time because they say technically the right way is the metal ring on that side rather than that side. So I'm pulling this canister out. You can see I had to, because the risk is cutting your finger if you stick your finger in this end here and try and grab it and pull it out, and it will take a fair amount of force, again because of stiction, because of the grease that's on the outside of that tube. So I had to get a pair of pliers on there, and you got to be careful not to touch your housing and only to keep it on that metal ring. If you use pliers, you can see there where I grabbed it. One advantage of turning the canister around the other way, the quote-unquote correct way, is this end with the rubber is going to be easier to insert into the tube, although you can get it to go this way. And you risk damaging it because there's kind of some sharp edges in there, and you'll risk damaging that rubber seal on this end. Although I've done them this way for years, hasn't been a problem. This debate is like the oil debates that you see online where there's no consensus, but supposedly this is the correct way. So I'm going to finish pulling this out and put the canister in the opposite direction. Well, I was hoping not to get my stand out, but I'm going to need both hands to show you on camera. So of course there's your canister. This is the end that goes into the unit like that. So you pull this cap off. Insert it this way. And of course it's going to push grease out since I'm changing the direction of it. Nope, didn't come all the way out. So there we go. Then we take care of this pull tab. I could go ahead and screw it in and then finish the cap, but I'm going to go ahead and put this cap on now. Of course, you don't want to release this now because it's going to push everything through. It didn't get too terrible messy up here, so I think we're going to be okay. All right. No need to go crazy with tightening this thing. Now it's time to put this back in. It's going to take some force. There you go. You're ready to go.